Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Thank you, Ira, for joining me here on stage. At Arthur, we've been working now for more than 7 years on the topic of how enterprises can use AR, VR, MR, or whatever other names we'll come up with, I'm sure, over the next years. How they can use this technology to work more effectively together, more efficiently together. And I think it couldn't come at a better time, this talk right now, because the world went through such a change the last couple years when it comes to how we think about work, the expectations we have from our employers, and also the expectations employers have for their employees. And we really believe there are two almost unstoppable forces that are going in exactly opposite directions. On the one hand, you have employees who want to have more flexibility where they work, when they work, and how they structure their work. On the other hand, you have employers that want to, of course, retain the best talent worldwide, but clearly see limitations in the way we're currently set up with video conferences, just not really giving us this level of team cohesion and deeper productivity that we know from a physical office. And those two forces are really irreconcilable in themselves with our current toolkit. So we think that this technology for which we're here all today is the logical solution for this dilemma. And we approach it with Arthur with a three-dimensional office where you and I can meet with photorealistic avatars. But we can not only meet and talk, we can actually get work done. We've built features like pinboards and whiteboards and 3D flowcharting and other stuff to enable also productivity. So for us, it's never only about the left side of the presentation here. It's not just about bringing people together that we can talk, which is super important and correlates, of course, with whether I feel connected to my team, whether I feel like I'm actually there with them. This level of team cohesion is something we can prove if we look at an analysis of more than 5,000 Arthur users. We asked them, do you feel more connected with your team? And more than 85% say yes, much more, even though I'm not in the same room. But the right side, productivity, am I actually getting more work done? Am I being more productive with my team is much, much harder to prove. Because here we not only need to bring people together in an application wearing VR headsets, we need to deal with the interface and UX challenges that they actually get more work done. And again, perfect timing, because just last week, a major study from PwC came out based on the work of the University of Münster. They accompanied a team that we equipped with Arthur. So this team started from zero, and they accompanied them for a couple months. And the study is so new, just came out last week, so the final numbers are not even on this presentation. And they did a proper academic, rigorous study across 17 different variables. And the exact summary for businesses is that we were able to prove 11% better output in terms of the results. We were able to increase the quality of communication by 16%, the togetherness by 58%. So really needle-moving things for enterprises in this setting that was properly tested with a control group, with an academic team that really looked at it. And I think we're just scratching the surface here of what we can actually do with this technology if we deploy it the right way, if we use it the right way for the right meetings. But we're, of course, only one part of the equation, so we can show there is potential. This is for sure just the first of many data points we'll be able to show. But it takes a lot more. It takes perfect preparation. It takes leadership. It takes a great vision. And that all comes from our partner in this case. And I'm really excited now to hand this over to Ira Bangula, who is leading a project, and she's going to share more about this right now with Arthur within Bayer. And she can tell us her story of how her team is exploring this new technology.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you all for joining us today. I would like to share that Bayer is in general a very innovative company, not only with our products, but also how we treat our employees and the tools we suggest to our employees. When we just got to this experiment, I will call it experiment, right, Chris? We were not sure what exactly to expect. It was after COVID, we said, well, people are not going to get to the office that fast. How exactly are we going to bring those gaps between geographies and people across the world? We are talking about multinational company. So we started to look into the learning engagement, how to connect different internationals, change management and ecological footprint. But we also have a quite big business of corporate real estate. And suddenly, during the experiment, we discovered digital twin. And that actually was very interesting. And I'm going to share very soon how exactly we are going to utilize it. Sorry. But as Chris shared, it's not so simple. It's not like, oh, great idea, we have a good vendor. And vendors, I would be actually more precise. And yeah, let's implement it. No, you need a huge team. As I shared, we have started with a corporate real estate who initiated that initiative. And corporate real estate also looks how our offices would look like, how to facilitate new ways of working, how to facilitate a good experience of employees to be in the office. Then we said, okay, let's run that experiment with Arthur Digital and also Meta colleagues. And we collected a huge team. We had a cybersecurity supporting us, IT infrastructures, how safety and environment would help us on different sites across the world, human resources, of course. And yeah, very important, Arthur, and huge thanks also to Meta colleagues, and of course, end users. All those. But on top of that, we always had to consider that when we are running an experiment and we want to have comprehensive results, we need to have a good sample group. That's why we went internationally. We chose diversity of people, nationalities, backgrounds, professionally, but also we have to consider labor laws, which are very highly respected in Bayer, including, of course, GDPR. So, taking you a bit to the overview of the world, those are the places we have implemented currently. Our pilot, Bayer is really multinational. We try to have a representative in each part of the world. And also people with different cultural backgrounds, because we want to understand how it's going to be adopted. We just had a session before, Chris, we were watching, and we saw that some people are very skeptical. So we said, okay, before we make a huge investment in 100K employees of Bayer, let's see if it's really worth it. Those are the types of the rooms that we have implemented on our sites. And it's a real picture. It's not rendering or something. This is how it looks like. Yeah. So we have goggles. But to take you back to digital twin, actually what we discovered that before we implement our new designs of the offices that would facilitate the new ways of working, facilitate shared desks or whatever it would be, we could actually create a digital twin and allow employees to discover it in VR. By doing that, we're actually saving a lot of money without implementing it in reality and doing changes later. We can experiment it. We say, okay, it works for us, because we allow our employees in each piece of the world to design or to choose their own colors relevant for their culture. And to go a few steps back, I would say a bit more than a year ago, when we had to choose for Arthur, what were actually our considerations, why we went with Arthur eventually. I think the main reason was the performance of the tool and the desktop integration. That was very important for us. Arthur could offer a bigger amount of people being within VR at the same time, while many other companies would limit that. And now, with a great collaboration all together, we also see where it takes us with the digital twins, and we are now about to map a third facility in the world together. I think not less important point, it's data privacy. Arthur being a Germany-based company that understands the European legislation systems and requirements, and of course, being a big international company, we also have a layer of expectation from our work counselor. It was super important for us to have a partner that would understand our needs and requirements. So on that, I'm sure Chris will be able to share more. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Chris. There is actually a statement. I was talking to our CEO, and I was trying to explain what is the advantage, and I couldn't. And I told him, you know what? There is nothing like the immerse experience. So I can show you DAX, I can explain whatever. If you don't try it, you just have no clue what I'm talking about. And few learnings from our experiment, we had, up till now, 150 days in VR exploration by 317 employees of Bayer across the world, as was showed in the map. And the interesting number that was interesting for us internally was 106 minutes per user spent in virtual reality, which is enormous because initially people were concerned, not sure. We have different generations of people working for Bayer. And then we see that, which gives us a huge hope, hopefully also with the new technologies of headsets, which allow us to be longer in virtual reality. I think we can increase that number. You can see also some feedbacks from our employees. As it was posted, so nothing was edited here, everything's super positive. People just looking forward to start working in VR. And with that, I will hand over to Chris to share a bit more experiences from other areas. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Ira. Yeah, really inspiring work that you've been doing there in such a large organization with so many stakeholders, different locations, and also many use cases that, of course, come up as we spread the word that we're, engaging in this technology. For us to maybe bring it back, we've started talking about that there is this fundamental rift or this fundamental irreconcilable problem of these two forces where employees want one thing and international employers want maybe another thing at the moment, and there's no good solution for this. I think we really see these data points right now, and also what Ira shared, that our technology is making an incredible impact already right now if the setting is right, if you know how to deploy it in the right use cases with the right team. What we're really seeing emerging in some of our leading customers is that this is not necessarily a tool that sits next to your other conferencing or collaboration tools. This is almost an extension of how you think about real estate. This is a virtual version of your office, of all of the offices that you have already in the world spread all over the globe. It's just digital. It can neatly connect in digital twin cases to the physical world. And it's something where users can go and come, employees can log in and are really just one step away from meeting their colleagues in the same immersive and engaging way that we actually love from physical offices. If we bring all of this together, it's, I think, a really exciting time right now, end of 2023. I think we're through a phase of so much exploration and foundational building, and we're now reaping the first true benefits, where it's shifting from an invest-only case for enterprises to one where you have immediate return in your workforce in terms of how agile your teams are, how connected they are, and really how much work they can get done and how connected they feel to each other. With that, we'll leave it there, and we'd love to take a couple questions from your end.
Okay, we have a couple minutes. Okay, 10 minutes for questions. Okay.
Thank you. You were talking about the right use cases to be picked. So what is the perfect use case? Is it a meeting of managers, administrative workers? What's the right use case?
Maybe I can start, and then you can give a bit of color to it. So we usually answer this question by saying we would prefer to change 5% of your meetings to make them 100% better than to try to make 100% of your meetings 5% better. Meaning, you should identify something that is complex, that has a lot of people involved, ideally multiple locations, maybe something that includes data, multiple data sources, complex planning, maybe different hierarchies in your organization. As you increase complexity of the meeting, it warrants it more to have a more powerful medium. So if there's a meeting that works perfectly well on a phone call, you don't need to set it up for VR. But if you want to get 20 people together to map out your strategy for the next 3 months on a lot of pinboards and whiteboards, and you want to have people from different locations involved there, then it becomes just a medium where I think users wouldn't want to go back to any other type of having this meeting.
I think you covered it quite well, Chris. From our perspective, and we're in the middle of experiment still, I can say that digital twin is a really good use case. Another point where I would see in corporate, when you work in real agile environment with agile teams which are located internationally, it's actually helpful to have this immerse space for meetings.
Yes, right there.
Thank you. My question is regarding the digital twin. Is it like this that you really do a one-by-one copy of your rooms you got worldwide to transport also the CI of Bayer, so that people from Argentina meeting in an original digital twin of, let's say, Australia? Is this the idea behind that?
This is the intent, because we want to recreate that feeling that you are in the office. But you also can decide that tomorrow, instead of being in Vienna, we are having coffee in Argentina. So, but in general, yes, we have one. It's a real architectural design to have it pre-adjustment before implementation. And second, yes, to have a meeting in real office that looks like an office.
Okay, who's next? Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, you did a rollout across the world and you went through different cultures of people. Did you get any pushback from any people of certain, say, religious backgrounds where people are wearing headdress and they can't put a headset on their head? And I presume you're using Quest devices, Meta devices.
Up till now, we didn't come across through such pushbacks. We did have some pushbacks from people. I would say it's rather related to generational question than religious. But again, like I mentioned, till you don't try, you can push back. Once they tried, we didn't have any negative feedback up till now.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Who's next? Okay. We have a shy audience here. Come on, there must be something you want to talk about virtual meetings. I'm pretty sure you want to know how you look like there, right? Okay.
I have a question. How you've been dealing with the side effects? If any users, you have like 150 users, and normally it's like 3 up to 5% has a side effects using the VR.
You mean like feeling
A dizziness.
A dizziness. That's something that we are working together with the colleagues from Meta. So we are every time trying to look into the new technologies that coming, looking into the studies that Chris was sharing. At the moment, we suggest not to spend longer than 1 hour. We have internal recommendations.
And as I see, you use the Oculus headset, and how are you dealing with the people with the glasses?
Oh yeah, there's a couple good options for folks who have glasses. There are eyeglass spacers in these headsets. You can, if you're really into it, you can order your own custom-made lenses. And that's, for example, in our team, people who wear glasses love that because they basically take off their glasses and put it on. Depends a little bit on the Quest Pro versus the Quest 3. The Quest Pro is a bit more comfortable in our understanding for glasses wearers because it has a bit more distance. It's not so closed. But yeah, generally it's something you have a couple short-term fixes. Probably the better long-term fix, if you want to spend more time in it, you probably want to get your lenses made for your headset.
Somewhat related question, how excited are you about the Apple Vision Pro and how impact that might have?
It's something we've been waiting on for such a long time, and I think also an important reconsideration of a lot of things in our industry that we thought were always going to be the same way, in terms of we'll always have controllers, or we're going to be VR first and then we'll introduce mixed reality, versus I think a more consumer-friendly approach that says, hey, by default, you're in the real world, and we're just going to slowly start adding, 2D content first, and then 3D content into your room, and maybe then we'll push you into the full VR experience. So I think the messaging of this device is very, very powerful. I think Apple did a very good job at approaching this in a way that I think consumers will be, and when I talk about consumers, I mean enterprise users and all the way to professional or prosumer users and individuals. I think they will find an easier way to accept this technology, because it's, again, it breaks with some of these standards that we just took for granted for such a long time. The other thing is, it is of course expensive. I do think everyone who will put on this device will say, I want one. I think it is, because it's so expensive, they also were really able to put so much power, so much quality of these individual components in there. But of course, it is one device of many. I do think probably the Apple Vision Pro will sell more Quest 3s than without the Apple Vision Pro, because you can do a lot of this stuff also on these other headsets from all of the headset manufacturers, Pico, HTC, and so on. They're bringing more and more mixed reality and quality to it. I'm personally, maybe as a last point around what headset do we need for really the next phase, I think everyone that I talk to that is really deep into XR, spatial computing, obsesses sometimes about really advanced frontier technologies, when I think we get a lot more reality checks, because when I put someone a VR headset on, very often it's the first time they try VR or XR as a whole. And it's probably more visual. If it just looks better, people like it. You've seen this as the first reaction to Mark Zuckerberg's selfie in front of the Eiffel Tower, I'm sure. I mean, this went so viral, and everybody said, oh my God, the metaverse is dead. How are we ever going to do any work in there? And then this year, they release a podcast with their hyper-realistic avatars. And if you look at just the way this was received, it is essentially nothing. It's just a more advanced avatar. I mean, there's magic behind it, getting an avatar to behave so realistic, but it's the same technology. It just looks much better. And I think that's something we have to realize, that on these things, on the readability of text, on the quality of the experience, that is probably the biggest thing for the mainstream that they notice. And I think Apple is going to bring a wonderful new bar here to the market.
Okay, well, thank you, Christoph and Ira, and thank you all for the questions. I hope you have enjoyed this session. And if you want to reach out to them, you can find them around the booths in the conference. Thank you, guys.
Hey,
give it up for them.
Thank you, Ira.